How can you transform your healing into brand power and online income? That is what we'll be speaking about tonight. If you are new here, thank you so much for joining. My name is Marissa Price. I'm a healing practitioner and digital business strategist. My YouTube channel is Marissa Price Heals. If you're watching on LinkedIn, hello and welcome. I have a lovely guest with me tonight, none other than the Roshini Cope. I'll pass it over to her to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Marissa. My name's Roshini. I'm known online as Glamazini, and my brand is helping Black women create content and through coaching, create lives that they love. And today we're going to talk all about brands and healing and authenticity, and I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. So I guess I just want to start off by first saying that we're co-hosting an upcoming masterclass from Passion to Profit,
Hmm.
how to build your online brand to generate income from anywhere, which I think is so important at this time as Black women. We see the headlines, the very real stories that people have shared with me about being kicked out, right, from jobs that people have been in for years that we were told were supposed to be secure, and just how we can utilize the skill set that we already have, which I speak a lot about on my second channel, Black Women Freelancers, to generate income, right? To lean into our existing skill set, and know that that's not tied to any title, right? Any role that we hold. These skills are very much ours. And so I want to ask you about the brand that you have built with Glamazini. Just can you share a little bit about your journey of building that brand and how healing has played a role in your brand story?
Okay, so this morning I went to the eye doctor and I mentioned while ordering my frames that I'm a content creator because glasses and that whole thing. And someone overheard me and said, "What do you do?" And it was really interesting to me because I finally had a very crystal clear answer for that question. In previous years, I would have fumbled a lot about what I put out into the world in my content online. But I could quickly answer and tell them that I help Black women create lives that they love while I'm doing the same. And I was able to just say it. And so that is a result, Marissa, of my healing journey. I have been putting
Mm,
content on the internet for just short of 2 decades. I
yeah.
started with my hair and my natural hair journey. And looking back, that was actually a introduction, like a gateway drug to healing, because it was my way of showing up authentically in a space that I knew how to, right? I wasn't able to speak my truth at that point. I wasn't able to like heal emotional, psychological, any of that stuff. But I was
Mm,
able to show up more authentically with my hair. I realized over time that as I started that, which is indicative of healing journeys, you
mhm.
start with one thing. It's like you pull the string and then everything starts to unravel. So you start showing
Yes.
up authentically with your hair and its texture and sharing the story and drawing an audience of other women doing the same. And then you start exploring other parts of your life where you realize you're not showing up authentically, right? So that transition from the natural hair beginnings of my brand went into more of the storytelling of my brand. And the
Mm, mhm,
storytelling showed up in my depression journey. I started
mhm.
sharing with people that I have a major depressive disorder diagnosis and also lending my lens, which is a very kind of humorous, fun loving, giddy lens to all the things. And so I had this transition from authenticity and natural hair to like creeping into telling my story and adding in little blips of spaces where I was healing with like relationship things I would learn and mental health things I would learn and depression things I would learn. And then my audience began to grow. Of course, because I'm a big goof off and I love pineapples and I'm a silly person, it really grew with humor, right?
Mhm.
And then eventually, as I healed, and as I started to overcome and solve some of the problems in my own life, and I just authentically shared, my brand just began to almost like formulate itself. So I went away from speaking
Mm.
about hair as much as I used to in the past, and it's become more like healing humor human. you know, my
Yeah.
brand mirrored, was parallel to the healing journey, the more
Mhm.
authentic and the more revelatory and the more like I resonated with something that was happening in my life and the more I shared it with the people, the more I attracted them. And then the more
Mm,
people would just literally ask me to help solve something that they were going through that they had actually watched me already solve. Does that make sense? And so
it
it was
does.
absolutely a it wasn't intentional on my part, but looking back, I see the through line of how my healing journey literally shaped how I show up on my platforms and the value that I add to my audience and then eventually my clients.
Mm, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And hello, Leslie. Thank you for joining us. You mentioned right the power of authenticity. I want to talk
Mhm.
about that because even being in the community. So I have a community called Black Women Freelancers for current and aspiring Black women who are interested in freelancing. Because Black women, we have been traditionally like left out completely of freelancing conversations, but we
Mhm.
have all of these skills, right? We're leading all these initiatives a lot of the times in the workplace, but we've been taught that the kind of like the workplace owns our skills,
Yeah.
and so trying to like separate that in our minds is like a huge part of it. And I think one of the struggles that has come up a lot is feeling like this has to be difficult, this
Mm.
has to be like painful sometimes to build your brand, and what you mentioned about it just being like a natural progression
Yeah.
by leaning into your authentic journey. I just want to ask about that. If someone is out there like feeling like this is something I cannot do, right? It just feels too hard. What you've shared is just like you sharing your authentic journey of living, and your audience is attracted to you, right? So anything you want to share, like
I
how that
believe your
process has been?
brand is an offshoot of you. I think okay, so there's 2 things you said in there and I wanna touch on both of them. Rugged individualism is not the way that Black women heal. We have been taught to exist in an individual's Mercy, you know Imma go there. You know how I am. I gotta
Whoa.
get it. I was like, you said that, and I was just like,
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Well, listen, you the one to ask me. Okay, so we Black women are taught to serve in ways that really pull at our heartstrings, right? It is
Mhm.
a really easy sell for a Black woman to be sold the virtue of sacrifice, the virtue of
Mhm.
showing up, in service. What's wrong with that? But often when we pull back and we take a higher level look at it, the person we are told to serve is never ourselves. The person that's benefiting from the thing that we authentically do is often some other person, some other system, some other somebody. And we are almost trained to not see ourselves. But the irony of that is because we're talking about brands, right? I believe that part of the reason it's hard for us to show up authentically in our brand is because we don't know who we are. And the answer to the question you can solve for other women is showing up more embodied in your own story. So when you can't show up in your own story, then you can't build a brand that feels authentic. You can build a brand, it's going to feel forced. It might feel crushing you. It might be something that you pick because you were told to pick it. So that's why I was saying like hindsight is 2020. Okay. I'm always joking around about how I'm breathing on 50's neck. Your girl is old out here. She's not as young as she might look. Okay. Looking back at what I've done over the past couple decades, what I did was where I missed the mark, where I felt most inauthentic, and when I felt most like things were not aligned is when I was trying to do something somebody else told me was supposed to work,
Yes.
or I was trying to model
Mhm.
after somebody else's thing. But that's not what I am. I am authentically a healer. My literal first name means light. It means light that illuminates dark places.
Mhm.
When I started to own who I actually was. And when I started to do my own healing work, I started to illuminate the dark places in Roshini. Like, why are you showing up with your hair like this when it doesn't feel authentic? And why are you muffling your thoughts when you actually think something different? And why are you participating in this respectability politics thing? And why you don't even care? You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like, and why are you talking
Mhm.
to this broad audience when you really only care about Black women? Like all of these different things, that's when the
Mhm.
alignment started to happen, that's when the clarity starts to happen, right? That's when the, like, relaxation, like, it's like you you sit into your brand and you're just like, it's me. Does that make sense? The brand is an offshoot of how
Does.
I'm showing up into the world. And then like you and I are always talking about finding ease. Black women are also taught to do things in the hardest way. So ease
Mhm.
often feels unfamiliar. I just put up a video in my coaching membership about what if peace feels unfamiliar? Because I realized that one day I had an anxiety response while I was sitting here at my desk. And what was happening was everything was working as intended. Things were going really, really well. And I
Okay.
freaked out. And I was like, well, what are you freaking out about? And it was because I was so used to struggle and things being hard that the
Yeah.
fact that everything was going as intended and I was getting yeses, people were signing up for things, brands were
Yeah.
upping numbers. I
Yeah.
freaked out. But we also learn struggle, right? So we learn to detach from ourselves and our brand messaging often because we can solve a problem with ease that we've already solved, right? Like you don't want to be a baker if you don't want to be a baker, but if you know how to bake, you can solve the problem for the person who wants to know how to bake. We run from that feeling because we're told that it's too restful. And I
Mhm.
realized breathing on 50's neck that that's actually where the sweet spot is. I hope I made sense. I don't know. Did I make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I
Okay.
wasn't ready this early on.
Marissa, you
The
listen,
jitters.
Marissa and I have gone live together on many occasions. You are just as deep as I am. So don't even.
Oh my gosh. And you know what it's bringing up? I participated in your virtual planning retreat
Yeah.
last year,
Mhm.
in the amount of revelations that I had during that. It kind of like, as I'm thinking about it now, it kind of laid the brickwork for me to now be at this stage, right?
Mhm.
Because I had to like really find out who I was. As you said, that's kind of the first step. Like,
It's
who
the
are you?
first listen, the
Mm-hmm.
first step of all healing. This is I don't know this to be true, you guys. I'm just a random woman on the internet with an obsession with pineapples. The first step of all healing is a pause.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us call it a pause. Some of us call it a sabbatical. Some of us call it something. And the reason for Black women that there is a pause is because we are kept so busy. We are just going from the neck. We feel like life is dragging us. And therefore,
Mm-hmm.
we are distracted, right? We're distracted. And rightfully so. Once you sit in a pause, you start to hear yourself. You start to hear the lights and the shadows. And that's why a lot of people don't pause because they don't want to hear what's going to come up when they sit. And in that pause, you can start having a curious conversation where you discover yourself because it might be the first time you hear her. You see what I'm saying? Like a lot
I
of us
do.
don't even get past that step. Once you do that, then everything can be communicated from that. Whether it's how you want a relationship to go and you can tell your partner, you can tell a friend, you can tell people what you're saying yes to, what you're saying no to, what your
Mhm.
brand is, what you will like everything is like a fount from a wholeness of self. So that's why my planning retreat starts with that work because I know that people come into the planning retreat thinking that I'm going to make them like cut up pieces of things out of a magazine and slap it up on a board. And nothing's wrong with that. But I
Mhm.
don't a
Mhm.
lot of women there are a lot of pictures of Paris on planning retreat on vision boards and I don't want to go to Paris. I don't nothing wrong with
Mhm.
Paris. No shade to Paris. It's just some people just have goals based off of like other people's things. They literally do not know what they want. And so that's why I am all anybody that's coached with me gets affronted. Often they get affronted with identity work. And I'll be like, because what I'm not about to do is be another person teaching a Black woman to self abandon. I'm not going to do it because you can get that message in somewhere else. You see what I'm saying? You can go work somewhere and have that person tell you you don't matter, do this thing, and you just go down the conveyor belt. I'm not going
Oh.
to tell you that. So a lot of women are like, "Whoa, what are all these questions?" But at the same time, like you said, Marissa, hopefully what the work I did with you helped you start creating something that felt more aligned with Marissa, period.
Mhm.
Like, that's the point.
Mhm.
I don't want you to create your year and it's not your year. Because I know a
Right.
Black woman will get her done. We get her
Mhm.
done. We'll make a
Mhm.
plan and we'll run. And at the end of the year, whose year is that? Why are you there? Whose brand is that? What business is that? You know what I mean? What
Mhm.
trip was that? You
Mhm.
didn't wanna go there, you know? You
Yeah.
wanted so that's why I do a lot of pausing us, finding out your unique, authentic authentic message, your
Mhm.
story, your why, what you have solved in your own world, and then what you can then provide as value to other people as a solution, which is really what a brand is, right? And it's like once
Yeah.
you start locking into that, I'll tell you my own story. And I know this is part of our workshop, right? Literally, you don't need a large audience. I have had a
No.
large engaged audience, you guys. I had at my biggest, my Facebook page was like 123 or 124,000 people. Viral videos, all that. That was humor, right? People love entertainment. Entertainment channels are usually bigger, right? So when at
Mhm.
my peak, I was getting million view videos all the time, million plus view videos all the time, 120 something thousand people. I was not making this much money.
Mhm.
I'm making more money now speaking about healing work and creating, and it's because I'm more aligned. I'm more clear. Just, I mean, that's just
Wow.
right? Right?
Yes. Uh-huh. Mm. And so it's getting on a path of alignment, which again, like going to the masterclass that Rushy and I
Mhm.
will be co-hosting from Passion to Profit. I think that's what makes this so different. Because as you mentioned, in the digital business space, online business space, there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of people telling us the same things that we heard in the workplace, right?
Mhm.
Just try this, do this strategy the way I did it, and then you'll achieve these vanity metrics, right? Likes, subscribes, and that doesn't always translate to income, which
Yeah,
a
it
lot of
doesn't.
us are seeking, right, to get free of these workplaces. Hmm.
Yeah, I do a solo self-care staycation situation in a hotel at least once a year. I try to. And a couple 3 years ago, I read the book The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks in my hotel room. And he introduced to me the concept of an upper limit problem, right? Which is like a threshold. It's like self-sabotage. You have a personal limit that you let yourself get to, and then you do sabotaging things to bring yourself down. Anyway, I did all that. I come out of that experience, which was life transforming, and I heard this voice in my head say, because I had so many money issues, and I say had as though it's past. I still
Hmm.
have money issues. It is one of my larger traumas. From a valid
Hmm.
place, I've done the work. I understand where I got this trauma from, hence me being a
Hmm.
Black woman healing to overcome this messaging that I got about money, right? When
Right.
I left the hotel room, I heard in my head, Rushni, money is just the energy of value transfer. Money is the energy of value transfer. If you get
Hmm.
clear on the value that you bring, the money will come. And so I began adding to my healing journey more clarity on the value that I bring. And the money started to come. Because instead of making it capitalism validly is horrifying, right? And
Hmm.
we as Black women have a lot of trauma in this space, and rightfully so. So vulnerable, I'm not knocking anybody who doesn't want to show up vulnerable. Like it makes
Hmm.
sense to me why we put on the masks and we do the things because it there's a lot of complex reasons why capitalism might not be safe for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
at the core, instead of thinking of it in that way, Marissa, I literally just
Hmm.
walked out and said, "Oh, so all I have to do is energetically align with what I know I bring value in." Like what I know. Like you can't tell me I cannot help you with this. There and you can't tell me. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And the money will come because when I tell my story from a place of clarity and not confusion, and I let people know what I have to offer, the people who need what I have to offer will show up. And that's literally what it's what started happening, and it is what has continued to happen like exponentially. It's like a small slope of like me trusting myself to
Mhm.
remain aligned, to remain authentic, to show up as a more healed version of myself every day, and to tell people what value I bring. I like it took away all of a lot of that negative messaging, that my trauma,
Mhm.
my
Mhm.
upbringing, and the capitalist machine pumped into my brain, and it just softened it. And I was like, "Oh, I can do that. I know what I'm good at. I know what message I have to bring to the world. I know who I wanna talk to. I know," you know what I mean? Which is what I'm gonna talk about in the workshop. Like, I was clear. I was like, "Oh, well, that makes it easier, doesn't it?" Let let me traipse right on out and do this.
Wow.
And actually, you
Wow.
know what too? You
Mhm.
said the planning retreat and the identity work. That hotel
Yeah.
stay, when I heard that thing in my head, I sat down and I made my Who Am I identity workbook in the hotel in like one night. And hundreds of women have, it might be thousands, have downloaded that free. It's my freebie that I give to people. I After
Mm.
being stagnant for all that time and being like, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that, maybe I should do the other. It was like my brain was like, this is what I do. I help Black women figure out who they are, ask for what they want, and create lives they love. Make the thing, do it, put it up. It was like boop, boop, boop. That what it was weird because I came out of the hotel room. I was telling my friends, and my friends were like, "Are you okay? Like, what was going on in the hotel room?" I was like, "I don't know." I got real crystal clear on that thing.
Wow. Wow. And if people want to access the workbook,
Oh,
I don't have
yeah.
the link with me, but because that
I'll
workbook
drop
was,
it
was
in there.
transformational. Yeah. Um,
I'll drop it.
but as you spoke to, this feels to me like almost a rejection in some ways, like you're still bringing in income, right? You're still participating in the system, unfortunately, of capitalism. But it's also like returning to something prior to capitalism because capitalism hasn't even existed that long when we think of like in the course of human history, right? And so before the system of capitalism was established, we were using our skills to generate resources, right? In community by using the things that we are gifted at, that we're skilled at, in community as an exchange,
Mhm.
right? And that's what it feels like to me, like especially as a freelancer, working with Black women. It is an exchange of energy, right? As you mentioned, money,
Exactly.
viewing it in an
Exactly.
entirely different way because, to your point earlier, we've been taught within this traumatic capitalist system that it has to be painful for us to bring in income. And if it's
And
not,
especially for
something's
us,
wrong.
it has here, listen, it has to
Mm-hmm.
be painful for someone that looks like us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We don't see pain happening in other groups,
Yes.
and we are, like, indoctrinated to think that's okay. But
Mm-hmm.
for us, sacrifice, for us, service, for
Mm-hmm.
us, on our back, for us, another assignment, for us, and
Yeah.
we are taught almost to see it from listen, it's a positive thing that is being used to keep you distant from self.
Yeah.
The power of the Black woman is when she meets herself. Like, when we meet ourselves, we become unstoppable, and I honestly think that when we meet ourselves, we plug into the energy of source. We plug into
Mm-hmm.
divine energy, and that is
Mm-hmm.
that's where the power is. So, yes, I believe that our history of all humans, because Black women are the origin of all humans, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? But I'm just saying
Mm-hmm.
the history is one of that flow of energy that I just mentioned, right? Which is why when I was in the hotel room, I heard, "Rushni." It was almost like a gentle voice said it to me, like, "Rushni," almost like they didn't say you're making a big deal, but it was like the voice sounded like it was saying, "You're making a really big deal out of nothing. Money is just the energy of value transfer." And I was just like, "Huh, well, if you put it that way, what do I know I do well?" And when I tell you, Marissa, I can walk up to you in the grocery store and all I'm trying to do is get my avocados. Okay. And if I don't do what I tend to do, which is like totally blank out and not show anybody who I am,
Hmm.
2 seconds in, you are pouring out your heart to me. You might be crying, which I'm not trying to do. And you are telling me your hopes and dreams, and you're telling me, "I've never told anybody this, but you just feel so safe." So my
Uh-huh.
brain was like, "Oh, so my energetic experience, even when I don't want it to happen, there's a few things that I know to be true, and one of them, there's other things, but one of them is this: I have a healing energy. I have a safe energy. I have a energy that unlocks a person and has them telling me who they are, often for the first time. Well, I mean, just put that
Hmm.
together. Like literally, it was like, that makes sense to me. And it was
Hmm.
easeful because it's not something that I'm trying to force. It's something that I
Yes.
am. The hard part was to quantify it,
Yeah.
and I still work on that, right? Because then there's different ways you can show up doing that.
Hmm.
What you wanna do and how you do it can show up in all sorts of ways, and everybody's different, right? I might have a similar energy to you, but you might want to show up as a coach, and I might not. I might want to teach an in-person class or art as, healing or whatever. You know what I mean? Like something entirely
Right.
different. I might only wanna be a content creator. I might want to take my thing into more like, outfits,
Hmm.
fashion. It could be
Yeah.
anything, right? But we are disconnected from ourselves, and the key to what we're looking for, the ease, is often reconnection to the very thing that we are taught to ignore. That's what I'm finding on my journey. That's why we're, like, told to distract with it, because then we can be used in the system, um, as opposed to be full of self. And I don't mean that in, like, selfish, I mean embodied. Like, return to self. Like, when you wake up in the morning, I want Marissa to be full of Marissa first,
Hmm.
and out
Hmm.
of the overflow, she does her thing. I don't want you to be on fumes. You know what I
Right.
mean? And same
I
for
do.
me. Like, I'm always giddy when I see a Black woman doing her thing full out in the world. I love it for us because that means, like, the communal thing you were talking about, now I have access to this thing. You see what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like, when
Hmm.
she shows up as her thing, fully embodied, whether it's her brand or relation, whatever she's doing, now I get to have that thing in my world
Yes.
because it's
Mm.
valuable. You see what I'm saying? And so
I
now I
do.
give her money. If it's a business that she makes out of it, I transfer the value, I give her the money, she gives me the thing.
Yes.
And vice
Yes.
versa. I give her the thing, she gives me the money. Like that, it was like my brain was, I was in a hotel room like, that does make sense. That feels so much nicer than what I was doing.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. And you brought up a point around collaboration, which I think is so important. One of the terms I've been studying is cooperative economics, right?
Mm,
As we see kind of the conditions, and another term, racial capitalism, that I've come across, which I think does a better job explaining what we're in, right? Racial capitalism.
yeah.
And just like the power of collaboration, I guess, as it pertains to this masterclass that we're co-hosting as well. um, just leaning into that because, again, in the systems that we're in, they like to pit us against each other so often, right? As if we're competitors.
Mhm.
And as entrepreneurs, right, you can really grow this ecosystem as you pour into each other. And so I just want to ask just about the value of collaboration, how that has played out, like the through line when growing your brand.
Dr. Kamani says it's the shortcut.
Mm. Hmm.
The trick of individualism is that you have to start at the beginning of everything and build it brick by brick on your own, up by your own bootstraps and all of that. And yet the people telling us that did not do that.
No.
You don't have to start from the beginning of anything. Okay? If you don't know how to start a brand, Black woman, and you see 2 Black women telling you, "We gonna help you start a brand," guess what you can do? Value transfer and get the shortcut. And let me tell you what, one of the biggest things that
Hmm.
helped me was starting to release the shame, because the shame of thinking I had to know how to do something, because that is not a realistic thing. This
Yeah.
feeling of like, I'm afraid to be seen trying because then I'm a failure and I have to know how to do it on my own, or I have to figure it out from the beginning. Like, it's a failure to ask for help. Actually, no, it's a very healed, mature, embodied choice, right?
Mhm.
To realize that you are a human being, you have something of value, they have something of value. And instead of taking 4 years to learn this, you can take 4 hours. Because
Mm.
if we as a human, I mean, it we are it's so many tricks in our mind. One of the things that just the whole thing we always have to do is just pull back from all of the systems, which is why the first step is the pause. You got to pull
Mm.
back and like look at it. Because when you pull back and look at it, I promise it ain't I should know that.
Mhm.
Most likely most of us sitting here did not make our clothes. There's
Mhm.
somebody sitting here listening to us. Did you make something you have on, Marissa? Did you fashion your
Oh, I
glasses
did
out?
make it.
Did you make it though? Like, did you go
No,
and
I
pick?
didn't make it.
Did you
No,
grow the plants? Did you
I
process the
didn't.
what about your
Mm-mm.
headphones? Did you make the what about the glasses? There is
No.
nothing on my body
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
I from scratch made, which means
Yes. Yes.
everything is a shortcut.
Mhm. Mhm.
Everything is a shortcut.
Mhm.
Me going and getting my eyes checked this morning and buying these glasses is a shortcut, as opposed to me having to I don't even how would you make glasses? How would I start from the beginning when my eyes
Right.
were blurry to solve it on my own? Even if I research it. One of my biggest pet peeves is when I watch some of these like bro podcasts and they're just like, I built it all myself. And then they'll be like, well, how did you build it all yourself? Well, I researched it. Well, what were you reading? Like, did you do the research studies yourself or did you read? No, I read books and I went to podcasts and I did research studies, which means you took a shortcut. So the
Yes.
shame I was feeling about taking shortcuts, I had to like train myself. Girl, everything is a shortcut. And you know what I started doing? Started working with coaches. I had one business coach,
Mhm.
Brandy. Then I had another business. I'm gonna call names Evelyn. And them poor women, I was a mess back then. Them poor women was like, lady, get it together. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like when I see a woman, especially here on the internet, because that's where we get to find our people more quickly. But even in person,
Mhm.
when I see somebody that has something that I want, my first thought is, "Good for her, that is amazing." And then my next thought
Mhm.
is, "I wonder if she'll provide me a shortcut." Some people take that energy and they go jealous, they go envy, they go crab in a barrel. We don't have time for that
Mhm.
over here in the healing area. No, no, no. Black women, we
Mhm.
live, like Clemani's things that we lift as we climb. If
Yes.
I sit here
Yes.
and I see Marissa saying a thing, I'm gonna
Mhm.
message Marissa and be like, "Hey, girl, where'd you get that from? How
Mhm.
you do that?" And that means now I don't have to do the work. And so it is a trick to do it alone. That's what I'm learning. This side of on the next side of the easiest way to do one of my affirmations
Mhm.
in the morning, what is the easiest way to do it? What is the most pleasurable way to do it? Because those 2 things we are never told. If we like it and it's easy, bad, bad girl. Bad, bad girl. Oh, who's doing that? I'm doing the most fun, easy way to do it every time. Every time. Because I said I create a life that I help Black women create life they love while I do the same. I'm not gonna be out here miserable while you having a good time. No, I'm not. So, you know, I'm out here helping you heal, and I'm
Mhm.
crushed into a fine dust. No, ma'am. Rushni's doing the easiest way as well. Rushni's doing the fun way. Rushni's doing the
Mhm.
pleasurable way. So that's what I mean about the trick of individualism that I started out with. Ask somebody how
Mhm.
to do it. And the funny thing is, when Black women start operating in this space, all the ships rise, right? Because a lot of
Yeah.
times the thought is, I don't have the money. I don't have the money. And trust me, I understand. I understand
Mhm.
that because money can be funny. And we still
Mhm.
live in a capitalist society. So it's not like I could be like, we don't need it. We need it.
Mhm.
But when the ships rise, you bring your value, you make more money. I bring my
Mhm.
value, I make more money. I've started to realize that when I operate in this space, I have the money to give the
Mm.
Black woman. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
To
Mhm.
to do the thing. I have a friend right now. who I commissioned some things from. I'm not gonna go into all the detail. I commissioned some things from her. She has not provided the things for me, right? And
Mhm.
one of the reasons, a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is imposter syndrome.
Mhm.
Fast forward a few months, she needed some money for something. I am out here walking in my audacity all 2025. That's my word of the year. And I am making
Mhm.
money come out of nowhere at this point. I am astonished at
Come
my
on.
ability. Okay. I just told
Yes.
Marissa about
Mhm.
something that
Yes.
happened. Okay. And I'm like, wait a minute. Who's doing that?
Mhm.
I messaged her and said, I know you need money. Remember, I asked you for something. I might have
Mm.
your money. You see what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
you have the
Mhm.
value. I'm asking you for it
Mhm.
because you have it. I don't have it. I'm asking you for it. Money is coming to me.
Yes.
Girl, I
Mhm.
might have your money. You see what I'm saying? So like this is the collaborative experience when we get with each other and we start noticing what the other person brings of value, whether it's
Mhm.
entertainment, whether it's education, whether it's guidance, whether it's problem solving. And then we bring our thing of value. And just like in a marketplace of like real tangible products, you know what I mean? Where Marissa puts her pot and I put my pot, and I say, great, I have
Yes.
what you need. And you say, I have what you need. See, the trick is they're telling us we're supposed to be at the house making everything from scratch. No, bring that
That's
thing
the
to the
trick.
marketplace and,
Mhm.
like, put your value out. That's right, collaboration is key.
Mhm.
Put your value out into the world. Somebody wants it, and and be willing to trade money is just like currency is like the way that we mark the value of a thing, right? I mean, that's why my brain had to, like, take a lot of that edge off of it because I
Mhm.
really was just and I still it's not like the gremlins aren't there, Marissa. That whole
Mhm.
thing of, like, Stephanie saying, "I thought you were a black woman healed," and I was like, "Healing." There's an ing on that, okay, because I still stumble, okay? But, like, it has not failed yet. That whole idea of,
Mm.
like, value transfer. If it's
Yeah.
value transfer, I gotta have somebody to transfer it to. If I want this, I go to Marissa. If I want that, I go to Alicia. I like the you
Yeah.
and I would not know to go to you guys if you guys weren't putting your thing into the world. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
What am I gonna do? Kick in the
Mhm.
door of a stranger that I've never met and be like, "Hey, is my thing in there?" No, girl, I need you to be out. I need you to be in the marketplace. You gotta call it the security. I need you to be in the world putting your thing out
Yes.
there. So when I
Yes.
need it, I
Mhm.
can go get it and transfer you some value, oftentimes in the form of money. Because capitalism. So that's
Mhm.
why it's a trick. That's why the healing is important, and that's why the collaboration is important, especially for Black women who value that, but we have to be, like, taught not to do it. I don't think that's our natural way of showing up. I don't think individualism is our natural way of showing up. It's an unhealed way for us to show
Yeah.
up.
Mhm. Mhm. Wow. Thank you.
That's what I think.
Um, and what you described, the visual of a marketplace, right? Again, that's bringing me like back prior to capitalism. It's
Mhm.
a marketplace. We show up with our gifts, our skills, right? And we're each contributing something to the pot, and it's an exchange versus it. Because again, in my freelancing community, one of the things is there's the belief that no one will want what we create, and I think that's because we've
Mm.
been in environments so often that have instilled these seeds of self-doubt,
Correct.
right? That we're not skilled, that we're not talented, that no one will ever want what we put out into the world. And it's a process of healing from that, right? Of shedding that, of unlearning that, and getting into spaces like, no, I need what you've been called to create and contribute to the community circle, right? Kind of
Yes.
viewing it through that lens.
I had that very trauma of I cannot make money unless I work somebody at somebody else's job.
Hmm.
That don't sound like slavery to you? I'm sorry. Does that what that sound? Like, girl, I'm not being mean to past me, but like literally what you just said is what I thought. I can't make money. My deepest trauma was I was told when I was younger, artists don't make money. And because I
Mm,
knew I was an artist,
mhm,
immediately I was told somewhere in my inner child subconscious that what I am is not of value. Not what I do. I'm a creator who creates things. That's what I do. And somewhere in my childlike mind, that thing broke my brain. And when I tell you it is still one of my deepest wounds in therapy, which is why I told you I had all this money issues, right? And
mhm,
so somebody told me who I am wasn't valuable because I was like, well, I'm a creative. I'm a creator. I create things. Everything I do is art. My LLC is
mhm.
called This Is Art.
Yeah.
Everything is
Mhm,
art. I don't care what I'm doing.
mhm,
And there's no value in that. That's scary. And so I would just take, like kind of like take my broken, wounded self and slop myself over to somebody's job and they would tell me where to put the widgets. You know what I mean? And and
mhm.
and
I do.
I would put the widgets, but inside of me, I was like, I don't know if this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, are you serious? Like, I was like, no, there's a different calling, I guess, or like
Mhm,
I am a creator made in the image of a creator. I create.
mhm,
Like my
mhm.
brain was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to check in and just put the widgets every day, especially
Right.
at a pharmaceutical company or a like I don't care. I don't care. Yes, that is the messaging we all get. And the irony is they see the value in it because they don't pay us enough, but they see the value in what you're doing because they're paying you to do it, right? Or else they would value transfer, right? It's to support their thing though. We are taught not to do our thing, which is why I was like, doesn't that sound like slavery to you? We are taught our thing is no value. Bring it over here and do something kind of like it and, be quiet. I don't want to do that. I want to be courageous enough to earn the value, not even earn, attract. At earn, the
Mhm.
word earn just sounded too hard to me. You see how these affirmations are working, Marissa? I said earn and I was like, I don't earn, I attract. I wanna I wanna flow into my value and
Yeah. Mhm.
encounter my money on the way, right? And so,
Encounter
like,
my money on the
girl,
way.
I
Yes.
really do. It's like
Mhm.
I lived the life of like, all I can do is just come in here, smile for y'all, do an interview, and then put the widgets. And I was like, hold up. No, no, no. And nothing's wrong with having a 9 to 5. Nothing is wrong with that. Noble, necessary capitalist society. But,
Yeah.
but if it's breaking your spirit, if it's toxic in nature, if it has nothing to do with the you and the impact you want to put in the world, that as a person whose assignment, quote unquote, is for Black women to create lives they love, that's and a lot of times your assignment will just make you itch when you see it like not happening because you gotta like I gotta
Mhm.
get in there. So like that's
Yeah.
where I'm just like, no, 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 ma'am. Don't let these people fool you. You are worth more than that. The very same thing that you're doing in these people's job, you can do it for your own self for something you actually care about. Somebody will pay you money. And so that's the work that people like you and I are doing, right? Because often we're not
Mhm.
getting those messages in these places. And so
Right.
people need to be in environments with Black women who understand our lived experience, who they don't have to spend a bunch of time explaining our
Yes.
experiences. We just know, and
Mhm.
who give them the messaging that there is value for them to transfer because we might be the first time they've heard it. I wasn't hearing it when I was in the like widget stacking. You know what I mean? I was
Me
surrounded by
neither.
people that didn't look like me that were telling me I was in a good job and what are you complaining about? Meanwhile, my entire soul had like poured out of my body and I was just like a shell of
Yes.
myself.
Mhm. Mhm. Thank you. Oh, so many things. You said something so important, right? That they convince us that our skills are not valuable, but yet our skills are the reason that they're paying us? Like, the reason why they've hired us for this job,
Mhm.
but if we're not contributing to their vision, right, their company, their organization, then all of a sudden we don't have value. And that's what it's kind of like instilled in us. Um, and so I want to talk about like the fear. And I know we're over time, so if we need
Yeah,
to
go ahead.
get
We're having a
okay.
good time. Go for it.
The fear, I think the fear associated with once you detach from that idea that only this organization, only this title, only this job can bring in income within a capitalist system that requires us to bring in income to survive.
Mhm.
What's on the other side, right? Not being able to tangibly like grasp what's on the other side, I think that prevents a lot of people from exploring that. Do you have any thoughts around that? If you've navigated that at all yourself,
That
or if you,
is valid
Mhm.
because we aren't taught how to do it. So how would you know? Right? So the idea that you have to be taught to operate in a capitalist society, but you don't have to be taught to operate in like a healed entrepreneur space, right? Like you had
Mhm.
to learn how to do that thing. You might have went to school for years to figure out how to do that thing. And over here, the messaging is don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And then you step over here and there's little to no messaging that you're going to succeed. Of course, you're going to be freaked out. Of course, you're going to think you're going to fail. Not only that, if I'm being realistic, you might fail a couple, three times. Realistically, on the path to success, I am finding that failure is just par for the course. You're gonna fail at
Mhm.
something. People who fail at something tried. Okay, if you didn't try, you ain't gonna fail it. You got to try a bunch of
Mhm.
times, and something's gonna stick, right? So the same, and that goes back to what you were saying, Marissa, about collaboration and finding opportunities for the shortcut, right?
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
in the in the ocean of messaging that someone that looks like you that tries to show up as herself and put her thing out in the world is destined to fail. Just come back over here and plug back in so we can milk you dry and give you this, little baby chick. Like you don't want to do that, right? And I get it. I
Mhm.
was it. Like that was where my brain was. In that
Mhm.
messaging, you have to cut through the noise and find you have to find the community and
Mhm.
find the women who are brave enough to like pioneer and innovate beyond that messaging, who've gone ahead of
Mhm.
you, and some of them are doing it.
Yeah.
And you have to be like, I see them, and you got to lock onto those people because the number is smaller, but they're people that have gone before you, right? Which is the whole shortcut. That's why Kamani always talks about it's the shortcut, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
We have, for example, a group of people here on the internet, Black women showing up in all sorts of wonderful capacities, right? Grab onto one
Mhm.
of them. Like literally, it's like a
Yes.
buffet at this point. I was on YouTube and we wasn't out here talking about this stuff. Okay. Matter of fact, when I was on YouTube and I first started, I was talking about depression.
Mm. Mhm.
The only thing I found other Black women were willing to talk about with me was shea butter. Listen, and I got the receipts. If you, I think they're still live. They're unlisted, maybe, but I might have kept them. If you go way back, there are videos on my page 15 years ago, 16 years ago, of me sitting there talking about depression, talking about therapy visits, and no one. Okay, we were only comfortable talking about our shampoo, and that's fine. I'm cool on our curl patterns. You know what I mean? How to part,
Wow.
and that's fine. I was
Mhm.
willing to go in front. And I think Versa, you and I talked about this on one of my coaching calls where I told you that
Mhm.
I realized that one of the things that I do very naturally is I cut down trees in
Yeah.
places that are unpaved. I'm like
Yes.
a what do you call that? Innovator? I'm not
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
I'm not often the walk on the paved path somebody else paved for me person. I'm the
Right.
like, I think that there's a clearing over there. And I'm like whacking down trees for people to come behind me That's how you
Mhm.
do it. You got to lock into that. You got to lock into the person possibility modeling for you,
Mhm.
because she's not going to be, the messaging is going to tell you to stop. But if she's in front of you
Ooh.
saying, no, 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 there's something else over here, right? Like, have you ever, like, Marissa, have you ever like had a friendship that crashed and burned and ended, like a really deep friendship that like stopped and it
Mhm.
came apart? Okay. When that
Mhm.
kind of stuff happens, you feel like you about to die. 'Cause you're just like, "How
Yes.
come nobody ain't ever said nothing to me about this?" And then you go on
Mhm.
the internet and somebody like me or somebody else has put up a video about the fact that, like, the friendship ended, and the person's like, "It's okay. You'll survive."
Mhm. That's true.
You go, "Girl, the healed, that was the unhealed version of
Yeah.
you. You picked the unhealed person, but if you come over here, there are some healed people over here to choose from. I think your friend's
Yes.
over here." Right? And then you're like, "Oh, I can go." So that's what I would say. Because of course
Yeah.
you're scared, because the machine and the messaging is, "Girl, stop. Come back here so we can milk you dry." And there's going to be a person like Marissa, like me, and like all of these amazing women that have popped up all over the place that's going to align with the very problem you're trying to solve. You gotta lock onto her and run. Sorry, the Virgin Islander and me just came out. You gotta lock onto she and run. You do. You gotta like hold on to her and go
Mhm.
behind her because she's going somewhere. And often those people are yelling back, "Come this way." And that's what I did. That's why I called out Brandy. That's why I called out Evelyn. Like the first business coaches that I reached out to and didn't even know what to ask them. I literally
Yeah.
just booked calls with people and I was just like, "Girl, I like you. Help." And they were like, "What's the problem?" And I was like, "I have a platform and I ain't making no money." Like this was years ago, like pre-pandemic.
Mhm.
"Okay, I'm making no money." And they were like, "Oh, we gotta fix that." And a lot of it was there were systems, like, okay, so in our workshop, you guys, I'm gonna be covering like clarity on your brand. Who are you talking to?
Mhm.
What's the problem like how to get there and get nice and
Mhm.
crispy so that you can at least, because like I said, if you don't know who you are, then you're putting the wrong thing out in the world. Once we get to that, Marissa's gonna walk you through some systems, some simple systems that aren't gonna like
Mhm.
confuse the living daylights out of you, right?
Right.
My work was both. I didn't have the systems that well, but I didn't have the mindset was off. The concept of
Mhm.
what I was doing was off, which is why I can help with the shortcut, you guys. Like you don't have to take 20 years to figure out something when I'm gonna tell it to you in 20 minutes. Like literally, I'm just like, y'all, okay. I should have y'all come get this, okay? Because I've been out here, y'all been watching me. I've been out here busting my tail and
Mhm.
learning a lot of lessons along the way. The trees are down. The path is
Right.
paved. Okay. The trail is blazed, like the people said in the comments. Come get this information this way. Don't tell them that there isn't money. Don't let people tell you that there isn't money. Don't let people tell you there isn't an audience. Don't let people tell you that your voice doesn't have value. I'm proof that it does.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? That's how
I
I
do.
look at it. So yeah, that's how I look at that.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Um, and I think this like goes back to what we talked about collaboration, right? They don't want us to collaborate because if you're viewing someone that you're inspired by as your competition, right? You're not gonna even have the thought, I need to learn from this person and what they're doing and follow their path and take notes, right? Um, you just view
Could
them
you
as
imagine?
competition.
I go to the market with my baskets. You go to the
Hmm.
market with your baskets. And instead of trying to give people what I spent time on in my basket, I'm grumbling about the fact that you across from me trying to sell the stuff in your basket. Meanwhile, I need what's in your basket. I'm so distracted. I'm not even over
Hmm.
there getting your thing. Like, girl, no, ma'am. No, y'all, we
Hmm.
are being tricked. We are being tricked by the system.
It's
Let your
true.
sister bring her thing to the market. You bring your thing. Both of you guys transfer your things. And if you
Hmm.
think if she's selling soup and you selling bowls, there it is. You see what I'm saying? Marissa and I are sitting here, two black women healing. Like, listen, what am I supposed? Am I supposed to chomp on Marissa's neck? No, ma'am. Come heal these black women with me.
Mhm.
Like, help, let's do it together.
Yeah.
I'm selling
Mhm.
soup, you selling bowls.
Mhm.
Now we got soup and
Mhm.
bowls. Okay. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's a simple thing. It's a reframe of how we've been told to be distracted instead of showing up whole, communal, divine, on purpose, aligned. You see what I'm saying? It's a trick.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, because nobody is selling. Okay, this is gonna sound really. If nobody's selling your soup, even if I'm selling soup or Marissa's selling soup, nobody's selling your soup. Okay,
Mhm.
so once
Mhm.
you know who you are and you understand that you are the magic in your thing, then you're not as intimidated by somebody bringing soup next to your soup table. Now we got two soups,
Mhm.
girl. Let's.
Yeah.
You want to do a 2 for package? Like, listen, I'll sell them a bowl for I got $10 on this bowl. You got $10 on that bowl. If they buy both bowls, they get it for 18. So, girl, something. You know what I mean? Like, let's get this money.
Yeah.
Right? And if you look at it that way, then you realize how
Mhm.
much of a trick a lot of that messaging is. The competition
Yes.
messaging, the I'm not enough. Therefore, the only way to show up next to another person is to drag them down. If you're dragging somebody down, you got to be down there to drag them. Boo boo. The point is not to be down
Mhm.
there and drag somebody down to your level. The point is to come up, come get higher.
Mhm.
If your first thought is drag her down, that means you're down there to drag her. Girl, get up. Girl, get up. We don't want it. And that's like that's why I'm so passionate about this stuff, Marissa. Because in my mind, I'm like, oh, I hate to see a black woman down. I hate to see
Mhm.
it. The system got her. I'll be if I see a woman talking crazy in comment sections, I'll be like, ooh, the system got her. It got her. She's confused. She
Mhm.
out here trying to maul another black woman out of unhealed brokenness. And in my head, I'll be like, I really feel I need to do something about that. And I'm like, that's how I know that's my calling because I don't like that. Girl, get up.
Mm.
Get up higher. If you're
Mhm.
up higher, you're never gonna need to pull anybody down because you're too busy going up. And you're too busy calling other people up. Like you're too busy calling other people up. Up, up, everybody, up. Let's all go higher.
Mhm.
Let's all get our vision up. Let's all get our clarity up. Let's all get our healing up. Let's all get our money up. Let's all get up.
Right.
Right? That whole
Yes.
like our competition. I can't believe think about Exodus
Mhm.
Summit. That's a great example. Could you
Yes.
imagine what would have
Mhm.
happened if Stephanie and Rashida saw each other as competition? Could you
Yes.
imagine?
Mhm.
No, man. What
Mhm.
you see there is two healing black women on
Mhm.
purpose, on brand, aligned healing purposes, and said two is better than one. Now we got two bowls of soup for $18, everybody. Everybody got soup. Now you get two bowls of soup. You know what I mean? Like that's what you see. And that's how we are as black women I believe, are naturally designed to function. And that's why there's so much distraction to keep us from showing up that way.
Mhm. Mhm. Wow. Yes. And I'm just thinking about like how we initially met, right? So I was speaking at Exodus Summit, and
Mhm.
I think Rushni, I think you saw my talk, and I was a
Yes.
VA at the time. I was a virtual assistant.
Yes. But I didn't
And then
know.
you reached, yeah,
I didn't know you were a
and
virtual
you,
assistant when I was first drawn to you. I was just drawn to you. I was just watching you and I was like, "I like her. I like her. Her spirit's good." Like my brain was
interesting.
like, "I like her." And then later you said, "And I'm a virtual assistant." And I was like, "Bet." Like literally during you're on the screen over here talking and I'm over here clicking on stuff trying to figure out how to like work with you. I was like, "Oh, because in my that's the other thing, Marissa. I have become I'm not like 100% here, but I definitely listen to my intuition more. And it's
Hmm.
something that I brought into my world. That's part of my healing, listening to it. In my mind, if I am in the market for a virtual assistant and I randomly focus on a person who just feels right, and then the person says they're a virtual assistant, bet. Like in my mind, I'm like, oh, that's the answer. Tippity tip, tip, tip.
Mm.
Hello, person. I'm not, what am I looking for? The
Hmm.
intuition just told me, the energy just told me, at least ask her. She might not be the answer. But that's how we met.
Mhm.
I don't know what it was. I was just because you were on a panel.
Yeah, I
It was
was.
it
I
was more
was.
than one person on the screen, and I was just
Uh-huh, it
like,
was
"I like
Angela.
her."
Uh-huh. Mhm.
That's nice. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And then in the process of participating in your virtual planning retreat, I took an identity test, which was part of the curriculum.
Mhm.
And I realized I'm an INFP, right? And that led me down all of these like portals to awareness and understanding. So I stepped away from being a virtual assistant,
I
right? And I
can't
think you said
believe
like
it.
you coached me out of being
I'm
your
still
virtual.
offended, y'all. I coached Marissa out of being my virtual assistant. I still offended. And you were like, "Yeah, girl, your planning retreat was amazing." I
It
realized I don't wanna
was.
be a virtual assistant anymore. What the hell's going on here? I was like, "This coaching is." I'm happy for you, but wait a minute.
It was that powerful. It was that powerful. It was. And to your point of like collaboration being the way, right? That we need each other to show up as like the fullest expression of ourselves. That way we can contribute to the circle, right? You contribute
Mhm,
your gifts. You're aware that you have gifts living within this system, all these messages that we receive as Black women that tell us we're not skilled, that we don't have anything to contribute. Shedding that in coming into the fact, no, you are extremely gifted. You have all these skills that you've been accumulating over your lifetime that you can now use, if you so
mhm,
choose, to bring in income for yourself. And so that's what we'll be talking about at the masterclass, right? From passion to profit.
mhm.
And so as we wind down, because I know I don't want to take too much of your time, but any anything else that you want to share, I guess, before we wind down.
No, I'm excited about the, masterclass. Thank you for reaching out to me to do it with you. If you are a Black woman and you want a safe space to hear more about how to crystallize your brand foundation, whether you have a brand and you feel like you're operating in confusion or you just have, like, an idea, right? I'm going to do my best to lay out a simple way for you to understand why you want to do what you're doing, what you're trying to put out into the world, how you're doing it, your brand voice, who you're talking to, and even some ways of giving you what your first simple offer could be. Um, and Marissa and I are both passionate about Black women healing, meaning returning to your divinely intended self, not cramming yourself into something systemically, which is the messaging you get everywhere else. So, the vantage point that we're coming from in our business lens is the vantage point that both Marissa and I apply in our businesses. Like, we apply it in the way that we work, and we want to help Black women get the shortcuts. So that's what I wanted to say, and thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, and I'll be talking about funnels. So setting up simple funnels. So the start of I guess my entry into digital business, digital entrepreneurship, I was a virtual assistant. That's how I started helping Black women digital entrepreneurs with the back end, kind of like setting up the things behind the scenes, right? The different platforms, setups. And so I have like a solid understanding of that. And then I transitioned into my own thing as a healing practitioner, utilizing my social work background. And so I'll be talking about setting up a simple sales funnel to get started. Sometimes we think we need a lot of like complicated, complex tools. And we start off, which I think is also a trick of capitalism.
Mhm,
You just need like the basics, right? A way to get paid. PayPal works just fine. Something like an email list, depending on what you want to do. There are so many free plans out there to start an email list. And that is really the basis. It forms the foundation of what you want to put out into the world, right? Your digital business, and leaning into the enormous amount of gifts, talents, and skills that we have as Black women. So I'm excited. Yes, so registration is open for From Passion to Profit. I linked it in the description as well, and I'll link it here in the chat. We would love to see you there. We're also offering hot seat coaching.
Oh, yeah,
So
the
if you're
hot seat. Yay.
interested, yeah, and having 10 minutes dedicated to you in a separate Zoom room. If you have an issue with your business that you'd like us to coach you through, If you're just starting out and you have ideas and you want to get some clarity, we would love to help you with that. That is an add-on to the ticket. So you'll see all of that on the sales page, which is linked here. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me, hello@marissaprice.me. But with that,
I wanna
I
say
think,
this. So I just
yeah.
recently started doing one-on-one, like, social media and business coaching, and I
Hmm.
have a client right now who met with me recently on a one-on-one and was not getting anybody in her funnel.
Hmm.
She had a very complicated situation going on, there was a lot of confusion in the back end, and nobody was coming in this funnel. I did one call with that lady. I'm so happy. It made me so happy. The next week, she had 2 posts go viral on LinkedIn, and people were in her sales funnel for the first
Hmm.
time. I'm having such a good time doing this numbers. I just wanted to say that. I was like, so if you guys are interested in getting feedback about your
Hmm.
specific brand, the hot seat might be where it's at because I was having a good time and she was afraid, like you said, to simplify her back end a bit. I went in the back end and I was like, "It's a lot
Hmm.
going on back here. We're
Yep.
confusing people." And she was afraid. But man, the next week she was like, "Oh my whole God." And when I went to her LinkedIn, the first post, I was like, "Oh, that's amazing." And she goes, "No, no, no, scroll down. The one before that was even more viral." And I went down and she was like, "I am astonished." And so that kind of stuff is the kind of feedback we might be able to give you if you let people who have done this tell you where
Mhm.
the plug is. You know what I mean? The thing that's blocking the value transfer. We might be able to help you. So anyway, yay.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. And yes, Leslie says, yes, it's designed to confuse us so we don't do the thing. That's it.
Exactly,
That's
Leslin.
it. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank y'all so much for being here. If you're watching live, if you're watching the replay, please like this video, comment below if anything resonated, and subscribe to both of our channels, Glam Mazzini on YouTube, and Marissa Price Heels is my YouTube channel as well. Again, thank y'all so much for being here. We hope to see you at From Passion to Profit, Saturday, September 13th, 12 p.m. Eastern. It is a 1 hour masterclass followed by the hot seat coaching, which is 10 minutes of individual coaching that will take place in a separate Zoom room, which is an add on to the masterclass ticket, which you'll find out more about on the sales page. But yeah, that is it. This has been a wonderful conversation that I have to go back and listen to because you dropped
Thanks
so
for
many
having me.
life changing things. I gotta sit back and let them soak in. So thank you, Rushni. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Bye,
y'all.
y'all.
Thank you so much. Bye.